This second live demonstration video is to again teach you what to do to your website after a hack has happened to get your site clean and back online. However, this lesson is specifically for people that do not have a website backup, or they may have an incomplete backup. Like if they only have a backup of their database, but they do not have a backup of all of their site files specifically. So if this is the case for you, this lesson is for you. If you do have a complete backup, if you have both the files and the database, please see the other demonstration video that I have provided in this series, because that process will be a lot easier and faster to accomplish. Now, when you do not have a complete website backup, in a lot of ways you are left to try to clean the website yourself. Sometimes it may not be possible to actually accomplish this. It really is just going to depend on what the hacker has done to your site, how extensively they have infected it, and even what different areas they have tried to infect of it. However, in a decent percentage of cases, you actually can still recover a website without any backups. It just takes a little more time and effort to ensure that your site is actually clean. Now, in a large majority of hacking cases that I have seen on WordPress websites, they are most commonly trying to load files onto the website itself as opposed to loading malicious content into the content, which is what would be in the database of your website. Now, there are certainly some possible exceptions to that, but that does seem to be the most common form of attack out there. So this is why I wanted to provide this lesson, because it is worth a shot. If you are looking at no other options, if you feel like you may end up losing your site, if you would have to delete everything in order to ultimately get the virus off of there, then this is certainly worth a try. What you want to do to start is first create backups of your site. Go into File Manager, go into PHP Admin, create a full file backup and a full database backup of your site, even in its hacked state right now. The reason why is because if this doesn't work out for you, you may want to roll back to this current point in time to simply be able to try again. After you have created a backup, the next thing you want to do is to identify the plugins and the themes that you are using on this site. To do this, locate the directory where you have installed WordPress. This should be the directory you just finished backing up. Then go into the WP content folder, and you should find a plugins and a themes folder located here. Look at your plugins folder first and go through them one at a time, making a list of each of these different folders that you have contained in there. So continue on, just like you see me doing here, and make a list of each of the plugins that you have installed. Finally, go back up one level and go into the other folder. So now I'm going to go into themes, and I'm going to do the same thing again here. So I'll make a separate listing for my theme, and I will record that file name there. The reason why you're doing this is because you need to know what software you have installed on this site, because we're going to end up deleting all of the files off of this website. And then we're going to attempt to manually reinstall all of the software to try to clean this website of its viruses. So unless we know exactly what we had installed on the site, we ultimately can't replace it. When you are going through this list, also try to take note of which plugins or themes might be free and which might be commercial. For example, Google Sitemap Generator here is a free theme. Some of these other ones, AMZPS, Azon Exit Cache, these are actually commercial Amazon affiliate plugins. So these commercial plugins, I'm going to have to locate my files for that to be able to reinstall it. Whereas for the free software, you can obtain this stuff from WordPress. So knowing which is which will make it easier to go and track down this software to get it reinstalled later. Once you have a listing of your plugins and themes, the next thing you want to do is back up this uploads directory. I'm going to click on compress and turn this into a gzipped archive. You can even date it if you would like. Now after we have compressed it, don't close this window down quite yet. What you want to do is manually verify that everything that was compressed into this file here, that it is all files that should be there. This uploads folder is typically where images get placed when you upload them through the WordPress system. It is possible for other types of content to get uploaded into here though, and it is certainly possible for hackers to try to put malicious files in one of these uploads folders. So you simply want to scroll through this list and carefully look at each item one at a time and make sure that these things are supposed to be there. In most cases, if you're seeing images, things that have an ending of .jpg, .png, maybe .gif, a lot of those files are going to be fine. Those are likely the images that you have uploaded. However, you want to keep an eye out for things like PHP files. This particular PHP file is for my security plugin, so I know that this stuff is okay. This is the iThemes security plugin that I recommend for you guys to use. So if you see this section on iThemes security and it has strange looking files in it, that part is fine. Any other kind of odd files, especially PHP files that you find in this list, if you do find anything like that, you would want to go manually into your uploads folder, try to navigate to the location where you have found those files and delete them. So you're deleting anything that shouldn't be there. And then you would want to make a fresh backup of the uploads directory to the point where this backup that you make, it should be 100% clean because you are going to be loading this backup onto your new site once you have reinstalled everything. So we want to make sure that we download this particular file for our uploads backup because again we are going to end up deleting all this stuff. At this point we want to do one more thing before we actually disable our live site from being reachable for a little bit. We want to go into the WordPress dashboard itself and look at both the posts and the pages that you have on your site. Go through each of these one at a time. Sometimes sites will have nothing but pages or nothing but posts. It really doesn't matter what kind of content you have on your site. The point is to look at these two listings of the different pages and posts that you have on your site. Sort them by the date that they have been modified or published on your site. And ultimately, you want to look for content that may have been recently updated, especially if it wasn't content that you updated yourself. So now on these, I can see this particular file here was published or updated more recently than some of the other ones. So if a hacker had gone into WordPress and edited some of the pages of my site to add malicious code, the ones that were up at the top of the list because they were most recently updated, those would be the most likely ones that you would find that kind of stuff in. If you do find anything like that, edit the file in WordPress and take a look at the coding that is there and simply look for things that are not supposed to be there. It could be images, it could be some kind of a link, it could be JavaScript coding. Ultimately, you should probably know what kind of content you loaded into your site yourself. So if you see things that are not supposed to be there, then you know you have problems. So let's say, for example, this is a blank piece of JavaScript, essentially. Let's say somebody had come in and added some malicious JavaScript code, even though there might be, more content located within here, maybe a URL pointing to a JavaScript file on another website. If they update this content on my site here, then I would know from the most recently published or updated content again that this could have potentially been edited on my site. Now sometimes you can use the WordPress revision system. If you click on screen options in a post or a page and you make sure this revisions checkbox is checked, then you can see when your page has actually been updated. And if need be, you might be able to roll back your content to a previous state. So for example, I can see here originally it was blank. In the next update, I had this title and this content, but you can see how something new has been added into it. Unfortunately, you kind of have to make sure every page of your website is clear of malicious coding like this, because if you just miss one tiny little piece of it, it's possible somebody could visit the page on your live site and it might just reload all the viruses onto your website once again. So if you don't have a backup of your database that's going to contain content that you are sure is free of any kind of malicious code, then you would have to do what I've been demonstrating here. Go through each of your posts and each of your pages manually and ensure that there is no malicious content in there. Again, that's only needed if you do not have a database backup. If you do have a database backup, you can skip that step entirely and you could just go straight to PHPMyAdmin. You go to the listing of all of your database tables for this particular website, you select them, and you drop the entire table. Once you have an empty database table, then you just simply go over to Import and click on Browse and simply find the file. So now that I have my file loaded up, I just click on Go, and this is going to restore my entire database for me. So obviously this is just for the people that do have a database backup. They can take this quick option instead of having to do it the much slower way of manually verifying that all of your content is clean. If you do find yourself having to clean your database content after you have cleaned all of that content manually, looking at your posts and your pages, I highly recommend going into your database once it is clean and doing an export. Go ahead and make a backup of all of that cleaned content. That way, if you have any problems and you need to roll back, you can roll back and not have to redo all of that manual content cleaning again. So now, once you have your database clean, whether that is doing it manually or simply restoring a database backup if you do have one available, then it is time to start wiping out your actual website. What we're going to do first is navigate to the directory where we have WordPress installed. We're going to select all of our files. Make sure you do have a backup of this stuff, by the way, just in case something goes wrong. Select all the files and all the folders once you have a backup made, and permanently delete all of these files from your site. Now what we're going to do is go over to WordPress. We're going to download WordPress. I recommend to get this .tar.gz file. Save this file to your computer, and then go back into the file manager and upload this file now. So once you've selected your file, it will start uploading it for you. And once your file is complete, then you can go back to your directory. Sometimes at first it won't show up for you. You may need to exit the folder and kind of go back into it like I've done here. Ultimately though, you need to be able to see this wordpress.tar.gz file that you just uploaded. Now we're going to extract it. Now in some cases, you might see something like this happen. This installed all the files into a WordPress directory. This is actually all of the WordPress files. However, I actually do not want them in a WordPress directory. I need it to be in the base directory. So I'm actually moving all of my files out of that WordPress directory and into the base directory of my site now. Now I can get rid of this WordPress folder, and I can even get rid of the WordPress zip file too. So now this gives me WordPress back on my website. The next thing I would need to do is to go into my WP content folder, and I now need to begin to restore the themes and the plugins to this site. To do this, you have to once again do it manually. Using the listing of plugins and themes that you had, go over here onto WordPress and search for them. Once you find the plugin, then you can simply download it, and then you can go back into your file manager, make sure you're in the correct location, and then you can upload that file there. So once you get your file uploaded, go back, click on the file, and extract it. Make sure it's getting extracted to public HTML WP content /plugins. Now you can see I have my Google Sitemap Generator folder here, and this is for that entire plugin. So you need to repeat this process for every plugin and every theme that you have. If they're commercial products, you need to locate those zip files on your computer or go and download a fresh copy of them from wherever you purchased it from and upload those zip files through here and extract them just like you saw me do with this one. So repeat until you have all of the folders restored for both the plugins and the themes. Once that is done, in this WP content folder where you have the plugins and the themes folders, you want to restore your upload folder now. So now I've uploaded my upload backup, and I'm going to wait for this to complete. Once I have it here, I can extract it. And now I have my uploads folder back in place. When all of your software is in place now, so you have clean installed WordPress, plugins, and the themes that you're going to use on this website. The next thing to do is to reconnect your site. To do this, we need to find out what our database credentials are. I'm going to go to cPanel main. I'm going to click on MySQL Databases. And on this page, my goal is to obtain a couple pieces of information. I want to know, first of all, the name of the database. If you have multiple databases, you are going to need to make sure you are working with the correct one. This name here matches up with what you see in PHPMyAdmin. So this is the name of the database right here. So make sure you have the correct database, record the name of it, scroll a little further down this page and record the user for this site. And again, you can have multiple users. In a lot of cases though, your user and your database name will often match each other on WordPress installations, unless perhaps you have set it up yourself or done something customized with that installation. Finally, we need the password. I recommend changing your password after a hacking, so this is a good chance to go ahead and change your password now. I like using the password generator. I set this at a large number of characters to use. And I'm looking for something nice and complicated with plenty of variety of different types of characters in it. Once you have your password, copy it over to your file. Check that you have copied it to a safe place and click on Use Password. Once we have this password changed, and we also have now obtained our database credentials, I want to jump over to PHPMyAdmin one more time real quick. I need to find out the database table prefix name. That's going to be the common name that is found on the beginning of all of your database tables. And it also includes this first underscore. So on my site, my prefix name is MOFSAI underscore. However, on a lot of WordPress sites, by default, you're going to end up seeing this, WP underscore. So if WP underscore is at the beginning of yours, record that. Otherwise, record whatever custom name your site is using. Once we have those 4 pieces of information now, it's time to create a WP config file. On a fresh WordPress installation, you're probably not going to see a wp-config.php file, but you should see a wp-config sample file. What I'm going to do is actually copy this file, and I'm going to give it a new name of wp-config.php. So I still have the original, but I also have a new one now, and this one is named appropriately. Well, the one that is named correctly, wp-config.php, I want to select it and go up here and click on Code Editor. Once I edit the file, I now need to enter in a number of these pieces of information. The first thing, my database name, this goes right here, database name here. My username will go here. In a lot of cases, this does end up being the same thing. And then finally, my password is going to go right here. Scroll down and look for this section now. It's going to say table prefix. You can see the default value here. So if it is WP underscore on your site, you actually do not have to change anything here. However, on my site, since I'm using a custom prefix, I need to provide that prefix here, or else this is not going to connect up correctly. Finally, I need to take care of these salts. I need a unique phrase for each of these salts. I like to use this page here. This will give you all the information that you need. Really straightforward and simple. You're just visiting that page and then you copy the content. If you see every time you refresh the page, it's generating brand new salts. So just visit the page, copy the content that you have there, revisit the file, and now we're going to select all 8 of these lines and just replace it with this custom information now. With all of this done, our database name, our user, our password, our salts, and the prefix taken care of, we can now save the changes. Once this has been saved and all of your software and your uploads folder has been restored, your site should be live again and functioning correctly. If you see that anything is not working correctly, then you may simply have had certain kinds of software in use on your site that's really not compatible with trying to do this clean installation method. If you can identify the exact piece of software causing you problems, like a plugin for example, you may want to try deactivating and deleting the plugin through your WordPress administration area, and then try reinstalling it and reactivating it from scratch inside of WordPress this time, instead of doing it through the file manager. There's still no guarantee that that'll end up fixing a problem with it, but if there were extra things that that plugin did upon installation that was not present on your site anymore, that can sometimes fix the problem. Again, that's no guarantee though. Once you have restored everything on your site though, and you've gotten it back live again, I highly recommend to change all of your other account passwords. We already took care of the database password, but you should still change your cPanel password through Password and Security, and also log into your WordPress administration area, change the password there. I even recommend taking additional preventative measures at this point. If your site got hacked, chances are you don't just want to leave it in the same state that it was before it got hacked, because there's a high likelihood that the hacker will simply be able to get back into your site using the same technique again. So try additional preventative measures that I have recommended in this training series to help to prevent those additional hacks from taking place.